And welcome back from drive time at 5, but it's 10 and you weren't anywhere.
What?
No, to half your face.
Anyways, just half. Stop. Alright, so tell the people what happened yesterday.
So yesterday we were getting the camp more situated. We're going to take a day off from driving back and forth to Odessa and out here. And we decided that it needed to be done, and we needed to kind of rest from all the driving. So we getting camp together, putting things, and of course we got to that point where the kids were hot and bored. And, didn't want to work.
We ate lunch.
Yeah, we just eaten lunch, and then
So he was out, doing stuff. I was in the pop-up. I was editing a video, and then I was getting her address, the little stickers, put on her mailbox that we have to put out.
So I'm sitting there, Tristan's helping me. He had just gotten off of the Swamp Thing, the four-wheeler, and then Spencer was out riding it. No big deal. They've been enjoying the ATV for since we've been out there, because they didn't get to ride it in Odessa.
Right. For what, like
3-4 days. I get a phone call from Spencer, so my first thought was, he's the four-wheeler's overheating, something happened. I answered, and he's like, "Daddy, I need help." I was like, I kick in with, first thought is, where are you at? So he points me in the right direction. STK, my truck. We got nicknames for all of our vehicles except for
mine.
Hang on.
Hi, we're back.
Hey, we're back. Welcome back. 5 at night, live at 5 at 10. So I hop in her Maxima. Tristan gets in the back seat, and I just peel out of the driveway and take off looking for Spencer. We live where the road is got cliffs and drop-offs in certain areas, so everything that's going through my mind is that he went off the side off the side, and he's pinched somewhere underneath this and kind of hanging on to dear life. He's bleeding. All these different things are going through my mind. So anyway, we get to where he's at, and the four-wheeler, all I see are the 4 tires, and I don't see Spencer. So me and Tristan get to the scene of the wreck, and
we'll insert pictures here. Go.
And so there was underneath a cedar tree or cedar bush, because it grows out wide and low, is my son. I see him after I'm kind of peering over this overturned ATV that's, again, it's on the cedar tree, and he's under the cedar tree.
So the cedar tree actually helped save him.
Yes.
Because if it wasn't there to catch the four-wheeler, it would have landed on top of him.
And judging by the force to which the branches were broken on the cedar tree, it would have crushed or broke him in the same manner. So I was able to, determine that he wasn't bleeding out, he wasn't gushing blood anywhere. In fact, I saw no blood. It was like my arm really hurts, and you could see a part on the inside. Yeah,
it was like
Vanna White.
I know, right? It was here.
Below, right above the crook of the elbow on the inside forearm, there is a protrusion, and then I didn't see the backside yet, but anyway, I saw that. It was like my arm hurts. I was like, okay, you probably broke your arm. Me and Tristan were able to get the four-wheeler peeled back and out of the way so we could kind of really see. And so at that time, I backed up, because it's a one-lane rock road. So I had to back up all the way to our campsite, our home base, and in her little Maxima, throwing rocks like it's a swamper.
And then he's at the door. He's like, "Hey, you need to get up. You need to get your shoes. We need to go." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Spencer flipped the four-wheeler, and I'm pretty sure he has broken his arm." So this is the second time that my husband has come to me. He's like, "Hey," he's always quite calm. He's not freaking out, which is good, but
I can't freak out.
No.
Because I know that that's her job.
That's my job. I didn't freak out much. And so, I didn't grab my phone. I threw on my Crocs. Crocs are not the best shoes.
I didn't grab my shoes.
Nothing. Jesus. But so the only reason I grabbed my fanny pack was because I had the keys to my car, and so my daughter, she's 11, Mac, was there, and I guess she overheard, because I'm running to the car, some expletives, some fancy words popped out of my mouth as I'm running.
Fancy words.
Well, and then Mackenzie, I was like, "Babe, just get in the car, come on, let's go." She jumped on her bike, and so then she's, one lane little road, and, she's on her bike, and I'm like, "Okay, just move." And I'm honking, and I was driving my little Maxima way too rough and way too fast.
And so as she was doing that, as that was going on, I had to unhook the trailer that we're using from my truck and gather up my sawzall, an axe.
Well, let's see. At this point in time,
she didn't know what.
I didn't know that he'd already been there and that he'd already seen it.
Right.
I thought he just got the phone call. So I get there, he's not there yet because he has to unhook the truck and he has to get tools. But when I get there and I see the situation, I'm like, oh my, there's no way we can even get to him. We need a saw. We got to get this stuff. There's no way to get the four-wheeler. Like, it was jammed. There was like trees jammed around two of the tires. So I was like, this is impossible. And so then he pulls up in the truck and I'm like, "We need a saw. We can't even." He's like, I know, I've already seen it. And I'm like, "Ah." But
so I had already, like I said in the beginning, already assessed the situation. So I came with, had my battery powered Sawzall Porter cable. Hey, if you want to sponsor us. I got the whole set except for a skill saw and some other stuff, but we'll talk about that. Porter cable, reach out. So I take that down there. I've already had the wood plate on it because we were doing some modifications to our little pop-up.
sorry, I have to keep adjusting it. You're leaning up against his hat, so we fancy.
It's a nice hat.
We fancy.
So I get there with that and axe, and we had already kind of cleared a spot, or at least to where I could get to him. Tristan and I moved the ATV. She didn't know that.
No. Well, and I was just so shocked at how the branches were only like that far off the ground. Okay, my son's not huge, but he's not a piece of paper. He slid
just perfectly
up under these branches. I mean, granted, he is cut up, scratched up, scraped up. T-shirt, he was wearing pants, and he was wearing boots, and thank the good Lord Jesus, he was wearing a helmet, because there have been lots of times lately where I'm not wearing a helmet and
That changes.
That does today. But for whatever reason, he put on a helmet. The helmet has dents, it has scratches, it has scrapes, so it did its job. I couldn't even reach his feet because the way the branch is, I couldn't like get up and just, I couldn't even touch him.
He was essentially buried. His head was very near the base of a cedar tree, and if you've never seen one,
they're like
they grow big and out.
Yeah, it's kind of like this.
So you can trim it to where you can have, a cedar tree that comes up and it's a tree, but for the most part, the branches and everything, it grows
and
like
they grow
this.
along the ground. There's a few
Very
that grow
low-lying
up, but
branches.
yeah.
So he was slid underneath, so the trajectory and everything, he landed and slid underneath the branches as the ATV was crashing down onto what would have been on top of him had it not been for the branches that he slid under.
Right. So at this point, I'm starting to think, I was like, oh my gosh, our neighbor, we met her neighbors, they are great, we're so grateful and thankful for them. But first time we were talking, he's like, oh yeah, I am a volunteer firefighter and an EMT, so if you ever have an accident or anything like that, let me know. I've got the lights on the truck, we will get we'll get him into town, as quick as can be. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, where's the phone? I need a phone, I gotta call him, let me call him. Called him, didn't pick up. Called him, he didn't pick up. Called him, he didn't pick up. So I left a message, he didn't, so then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go to their house. I'm gonna drive to their house, and maybe he was taking a nap. I'm doing way too fast. My little car is doing all sorts of this on the road. I'm like, okay, you gotta slow down. You don't need to wreck, you gotta slow down. I was taking it through some pretty big bumps and
she was
washout
treated
spots.
like a four-wheeler.
Literally, I was like, okay, well, if I break the car, I break the car. Pretty much. So I get to the house, and I'm just honking, running up to the gate. I don't want to open their gate because they've got some dogs, and the dogs like to escape. And then the wife walks out, off the porch, and she's looking kind of confused. And I was like, I'm trying to get in touch with Mitch. Oops, that's his name. But Spencer had a bad accident. I explained to her what happened, and she's like, okay, you need to get in touch with this person.
I was already on the phone with 911.
Okay.
Because I had an idea of what I needed to do, but again, this is the first time I've dealt with something that severe, and so I wanted to run it by a professional that deals with stuff like this on the reg. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Shout out to my EMTs and essential workers and all the people that know more than I do about stuff like that.
So yeah, by the time I get back, and I'm like, we need to call this, but yeah, he was already on the phone. He'd already got all the branches cut away, so we could see Spencer. I could see his arm. I could see the spot that was bulging out here, and it looks like it was so close to wanting to pierce through, but it didn't. And so I was just like, okay, you have to breathe, just keep breathing, and about that time is when the neighbor's wife pulled up to check. She's like, I just wanted to see how everything's going.
Yeah. So anyway, then the EMT lady from Robert Lee, she called me back after the 911 operator and got in touch with them because explained what was going on, and that I didn't need an ambulance because it was quicker for me to get him there, but I didn't want to move him, I didn't want to get him up, I didn't want to really do anything until I had somebody kind of outside of myself,
right,
kind of assess and know what was going on.
Well, something dangerous that I thought about after the fact is he wrecked. Okay, so he lost control, he flipped, at some point he passed out. He doesn't remember.
Probably when he hit the ground.
Probably. He doesn't remember sliding under the tree. He doesn't remember hitting the ground. He doesn't remember the swamp, the four-wheeler over, coming over top of him. He Steve remembers waking up underneath the tree
In pain.
And so he took off the helmet, which I was like, oh, he probably shouldn't. At best, he's not, thinking about that. But good thing was he had his phone in his pocket, and with the arm that wasn't hurt, with his left arm, he was able to reach his pocket and get out his phone. If he didn't have his phone with him,
who knows how long he just sat there.
yeah.
Because he was probably about a quarter mile down the road.
Yeah.
And,
We're busy.
We got a generator going.
There's no way we would have been able to hear him if he was screaming, or if he was.
Yeah.
And when I'm in the pop-up, we've got the generator not too far. We've got the AC blowing. We've got at least 2 fans. You can't hear.
So that's why she didn't hear me zip by and
No.
kick up rocks from the driveway past and then back because I went the wrong direction at first.
Well, and then what totally breaks my heart is he called me first. But for whatever reason, we thought it was because I was trying to edit a video. But my phone didn't ring. It went straight to voicemail. It didn't. He tried to call me this morning from the hospital, and it went straight to voicemail. So, don't know.
What needed to happen was Daddy needed to be in search and rescue mode before Mommy was alerted to the emergency.
I guess.
That way, Daddy looked like a really good hero of knowing what to do. And
good job, because you did. So, I couldn't watch as Ben tried to kind of not pull, but I had to kind of pull and help get him out from under the tree. And then when I saw the back of the arm where you could see something was sort of sticking out. Yeah.
So we got, that was about the time that I was getting off the phone with the Robert Lee EMT, and so got his arm as best we could. I didn't want to cause any extra pain, so we kind of got it tied, put a belt around his arm so it could, kind of hang, because again, everything, pointed to a broken bone. I've seen, in football, I've seen a bone come out of the arm. It looked like a broken bone.
Literally looked like he broke this bone, and it was poking out, back here, and it was like pushing up against the muscle in the skin here. And so it looked like that when we got him to the hospital after he did the drive we're taking right now. We got there for like half the time it's going to take us.
And shout out to Toyota Tundra. It's got the speeds. Needle can get to 110 if we wanted to.
So I'm in the back seat. He's kind of pressed up against me, and I'm like, okay, we've got bumps coming. We've got a right-hand turn. We've got a hill. We've got a left-hand turn. We've got a stop. I'm just letting him know what's coming so he can kind of brace himself.
It didn't help.
It didn't help because he was crying most of the time.
In pain.
Yeah. That was tough.
It was, and I'm trying to get there as fast as I can.
Safely.
Not hurt my son in the process of all these winding roads, because it's a beautiful drive from Robert Lee to San Angelo.
It's just not the smoothest.
No, it's not, and it's not the straightest. So there's a lot of hard turns that kind of wind through the hill country and so forth. And so all those bumps were agitating,
What we thought was a broken bone.
The wound. And then any kind of pressure on taking turns left and right, kind of. So I've got that, and then she's trying to console him at the same time, trying to, make sure that I'm watching where I'm going because of, the very slow speed we were going. And so it was just, it was interesting to say the least.
It was stressful. So we get there, he'd already let the emergency room, or whatever you want to call it, know we're on our way. Oh, you're driving him? Yeah, we're driving him. They're like, all right, we will alert a nurse, and they'll, the ER people, and they'll be on the lookout. So we get there, ain't nobody on the lookout, ain't nobody out there, and so we get there, and we wait for a second. I'm like, just go. I don't care if you have a mask. Just go get somebody. And then he comes, goes running into the hospital, comes running back out, and I'm like, where they at? And he's, Spencer's like, oh, and then slowly this nurse comes walking out. I mean, no hurry. She probably deals with, worse stuff.
And when we say it was a broken arm, to her, it's a broken arm.
Broken arm.
To us, it's our son,
right?
Lady. It's our
Let's
son.
Freaking go!
It's like the president of our oldest son.
So she, slowly strolling out, pushing the wheelchair, and I hop out of the driver's side back, and she kind of stops. Oh, where is he? I was like, he's on the other side. So, she getting him up and out of the back seat. Again, I just couldn't watch. Get him into the wheelchair. And then again, only one parent can come in. This COVID-19 stuff, I know it's serious. I know it's an issue. I get that. But for the fact that this hospital is basically empty. Literally, I walked by the whole time I was there, maybe 5 people. Everybody's wearing masks. But I can't have my husband, or if he went, it was me that went, can't have each other for support. I find that to be ridiculous. But that's a whole different issue. So, he gets taken into a trauma room 1. So that's where we're at. Suddenly there's like 6 different nurses, 2 different doctors. They're all trying to talk to me. We got to cut off your shirt. Somebody get his blood pressure. What is this? What is that? Oh, I can't really find a pulse on the arm that was hurt. So they're like, okay, get him some morphine. Do this. Let's get some x-rays. And then there's blood just on the floor, blood all over the sheets. They're, cutting off his clothes, taking off his pants and his shoes, and feeling around all over him. And, it was a lot. I mean, yeah, I watched the doctor shows and all that. So,
But again, it's not the president of your son.
But yeah, it's different when it's your child. So the doctor, they're he's like introducing himself. It's very difficult to hear him because there's so much noise, and he had on like 3 different masks. I'm not even joking. Yeah, like a mask, and then another mask, and then a face shield. And I'm like,
It's because of the blood.
Oh no, I know, I get it. But I'm like, I can't hear you. So they're popping x-rays and doing x-rays, and I'm like, okay, so what are we looking at? He's like, well, his arm's not broken. He's intact. He's got no broken bones. So
W to the F to the T to the what?
Exactly. He's like, so I'm thinking the only thing it can be is a foreign object. He's like, it's not metal because it didn't, it's not registering on the x-ray, and it's not a broken bone. So it is most likely a piece of the tree. Okay, no big deal. So since he thinks he passed out, they have to do a CAT scan, or CT. CAT scan is a CT, right? Or is it different?
I think it's different.
They had to do a CT. The guy came, took him back to do the CT, and he's like, I'll have him right back. It'll be really quick. So, okay. I'm sitting, and it's really kind of hitting me. I'm really thinking about everything, and I'm trying not to just
freak out,
lose my crap. And about 25 to 30 minutes for him to come back for this really quick, CT. And he's like, I'm sorry, it did take quite a bit longer. The doctor wanted headshot, then he wanted his ribs, then he wanted his chest, he wanted his pelvis, he wanted, a better look at his arm. So I had to take a few pictures. I was like, okay.
Makes sense, because
yes, it does.
How it happened, what was going on, especially that he had, an embedded, he was impaled.
Yeah.
Find out what other kind of trauma that the body went through because of the force that was put onto him.
All right, and then the doctor comes back and he's like, a bone doctor is going to come. They're going to talk to you. We're going to, he is going to have surgery. In fact, so very few minutes later, the doctor did come in, the doctor that did the surgery on his arm, and he's like, I'm going to have to cut it open. I'm going to have to wash it out. I'm going to have to, really poke around and investigate and see what it looks like. I can't really give you a lot of information right now. He's most likely will be spending the night.
But he's definitely going into surgery.
Yes. And he's like, and this is the part that really kind of sucks, because I know he's ready to go and I'm ready to go, but we have to wait. We have to wait. We need a team, and we have to wait to get the OR prepped. So we wait. And the morphine for Spencer had, kicked in. He's all like, oh, I'm bored. Oh, can't they just cut off my arm? I don't need it.
It's so Spencer.
Yeah, it is. And just, being Spencer. And where's the TV? Why don't I have a TV? I'm bored.
Where's my PlayStation?
How long is this gonna take? Gosh, all I do is I just wait and wait and wait. I'm like, dude. So he's like,
he's got the patience of his mother.
Oh, then he's very patient. He's like, I'm really thirsty. And I was like, yeah, on the drive, I kept offering him a drink of water because I knew at some point it was gonna hit him. It was hot, he was on the sun, and he's like, no, I don't want to drink, no, I don't want to drink. So then in the hospital, I was like, I'm really thirsty, and I'm like, I don't think they're gonna let you have a drink of water. They might let you chew on an ice chip or something. No, he could have absolutely nothing. So when did he go into surgery? 5? No, it was after 6.
Yeah, it was somewhere around 6.
So the accident happened at our best guesstimations at like 3 to 3:30. Not 100% sure. I have, paperwork to sign. Technically, he's 18, so he should have signed it himself. Even the emergency room nurse was like, but since his right arm is the one that's hurt, and he's, had a few...
And he's still a dependent. Yes, he's 18, but he still lives at home.
Well, he's had a few shots of morphine, so she's like, I'm going to go ahead and just... You will sign all the paperwork, and then the anesthesiologist is going to want to talk with you, and you're going to have, more paperwork that you're going to have to sign. I was like, okay. So, finally, they're like, all right, we're ready. They get him all unhooked, and it's just scary.
I was hungry.
Oh, yeah.
I was sitting in the truck in the parking lot, bored, hungry.
Bored in my truck, in my truck bored. I can't talk.
Bored in my truck and in my truck bored. But yeah, so once that kind of situates, I was like, okay, let's get some food. And she's, so she was still upstairs. I was like, I'm gonna go, get some food, get back, we'll eat in the truck, and while he's in surgery. So
that's what he did.
That's what we did.
Back in the truck.
In the truck back.
It's been a week. We are heading to Bug just went splatter. Heading to Spencer's doctor's appointment. So I think we left off. He was taken back to surgery. It took about a little over an hour, and then we got a then she's like, the doctor will be there to talk to y'all. So I took that as an invitation to have him come in the hospital, and so he could hear what the doctor or what the surgeon had to say.
Yep. So we both went walking into the hospital.
Like we owned the dadgum place.
Yep. And there was two people kind of there at the nurse's station talking to them, and they looked at us when we walked by, and you know, in the back of my mind as I was walking by, I was like, it's okay, I'm a limo driver.
Right.
But we just kept walking, and one of them looked like he was going to say something, but then didn't, because I just kept going like I knew what I was doing. Because I did. I was going in when I shouldn't have. But,
so technically, we broke a rule, but there was nobody there. Literally, the ICU waiting room was empty. We were the only people, and I'm like, if we need to be 6 feet apart, we'll be 6 feet apart.
But we're never 6 feet apart. I mean, well, we are, because, you know, we've got 27 acres.
But we wore masks. The surgeon didn't care. The anesthesiologist didn't care. The nurses didn't care until we went to go visit him, and then we were told it's only one parent. And I'm like, well, we're about to, be leaving, so we just want to say good night. You're not going to tell me that I'm not going to say good night to my son. So, anyways, surgery went well. There were a couple of issues. Sorry, you're leaning up against his hat once again, because we're fancy like that. And this is a different hat.
Makeshift tripod.
It is a makeshift tripod. This is a different hat. It's not sitting as well. It's a real cowboy hat.
It's bouncy.
It's bouncy. Anyways, so surgeon said, it was rough. We'll insert pictures here. So, do you still have numbness?
Yeah.
So the way that we'll call it a splinter, the way that the splinter was sitting, it had a point, and the point was right here on an artery, plus like pushing on his radial nerve. So it stretched out the artery, and it stretched out the nerve. So he has numbness. Is it still just your thumb, or is it your first finger too?
It's my thumb, my first finger.
So he's having some numbness in these two fingers. They say it should heal. They say it should be fine. It's going to take a little bit of time. So we'll insert some video footage of me cleaning out his wounds here.
This is very cool. There it is.
So that is the entrance.
I hate the fact that you can't really see it because of all that white stuff.
Alright.
Viewer discretion is advised. Yeah, so I have a total of like 13 staples.
I think it might be a little bit infected. It's turning it.
Smells a bit like almonds.
It doesn't. But it's got a bit of a hue, a greenish hue to it. I don't know. Well, that's why we're going to have them check. We did have a little moment of panic. We were at the rent house trying to finish up and asked Spencer to help. And we just wanted him to mop. We have a little steam mopper. Granted, he could have used his left hand, but he said it wasn't doing a very good job. So he started using both of his arms. And about 1.5 bedrooms later, he's in a whole lot of pain. He's crying. He's in a lot of pain. So I took off the bandage to look, and it just looked weird. So call the doctor. doctor and we talked, and he's like, unless he's got a really high fever and unless he's like, ooh, you fell off completely.
Probably don't want to put that.
I'm gonna keep it. Clip it. But unless he's running a really high fever, and unless it's like, you know, he's busted open his staples, it should be okay. So he had his assistant call me the very next morning to see how I was looking and how he was doing. And so I said everything will be okay, and we have an appointment today. But life, it's a little bit tough. You know, it's an extra set of hands now that can't help out. Especially when we had moving to do and cleaning to do and heavy lifting to do, and
These kids nowadays will do anything to get out of some work. Like impale themselves.
I can't lift much because I've got a messed up neck and a messed up shoulder. So that pretty much leaves this guy and then this guy back here. And this guy back here don't like to do much stuff.
We're working that out.
Yeah. But changing bandages is a little bit difficult because it's like two spots. He's got the inside incision, which is long.
You gotta make an arm sandwich with the bandages.
Pretty much. An arm burrito, and then the outside one is pretty long too. But he's got a big open, it's probably the size of a quarter, if not a bit bigger, up here that's open.
A silver dollar.
It's really oozy. So only supposed to change his bandages once a day. But it takes a good 30 plus minutes to do it.
You gotta, wash your hands, get the gloves on, which is real fun for me when we have to help because all we got were medium-sized gloves.
I have little hands.
And so when I put the gloves on, I'm looking like OJ.
If it don't fit,
like
you
this,
must have
and
quit.
I got like dangle bits coming off the top. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? But I like to rub Spencer's face with it. He really likes that.
No, I don't.
But it's his right hand. That's his dominant hand. So if we have pancakes or something, somebody has to cut his food. If he's wearing shoes that are tied, he needs help.
Oh, I tied my shoes.
You tied your shoes?
I tied my shoes just fine. I've never needed help tying my shoes.
If he has to have a shower, he needs help. It's alright. So we are now down to only the top bandage. Show me your arm. Flip it over so we can see all that. We took off the bottom. Yes. Well.
Learn how to hold your phone right.
Don't yell at me. So anyways, took off the bottom set of bandages yesterday. And when did we take off the tape? Was that yesterday too?
No, it was. I
think it was Thursday morning. So yesterday morning.
Yeah. So yeah, that was yesterday. But yeah, finally got to see what it actually looks like. He has 13 staples. I think he might need an extra staple. He's got a little piece of flesh that keeps kind of poking out. And he's got one staple that popped out. Well, it's mostly popped out, so we'll see. But anyways, that is the story of how Spencer decided to not help us move.